The icy wind swept across the deck, cutting through layers of wool and waterproof fabric as she clutched the ship's railing. Her eyes fixed on the endless white ahead. Greenland spread out before her, vast and otherworldly, like the untouched edge of a forgotten world. She had come to this frozen wilderness at the bottom of the earth to fulfill a promise. Her mother, Rena, had dreamed of standing here, but cancer had taken Rena before they could make the journey together. Now, she stood alone, holding not just her pastels, but the weight of her mother's unfinished dream. This is the story of Zaria Forman and her unwavering determination to use art to awaken the world to the urgency of climate change. Zaria Forman grew up in Piermont, just 30 minutes north of New York City. Born into a family of artists and adventurers, her childhood was filled with journeys to remote, icy wildernesses that most people only glimpse in fleeting National Geographic images. Her inspiration took root in early childhood, when she traveled with her family to some of the world's most untouched landscapes, the very scenes her mother, Rena Bass Forman, captured in her fine art photography. For Zaria, the icebergs, glaciers, and endless frozen seas became as familiar as a backyard garden, thanks to her mother's obsession with documenting the most pristine corners of the earth. Rena, a force of nature herself, aimed her camera at the jagged coasts of Greenland and the towering mountains of Patagonia. Zaria often accompanied her mother on these expeditions, where the biting winds and icy sprays became woven into the fabric of her youth. On the deck of ships cutting through Arctic waters, Zaria's young eyes took in the majesty of colossal, ancient landscapes, frozen monuments to time. But she also witnessed their slow decline, the cracks, the melting ice, the quiet retreat of the glaciers. Zaria's journey into art was inevitable, though its form was not always clear. Trained in pastel drawing, she knew early on that her work would honor the fragile beauty she had witnessed firsthand. But it wasn't until after her mother's passing, just before they could embark on one final voyage to Greenland, that Zaria's work fully crystallized. Grieving, but deeply inspired by her mother's vision, she took it upon herself to continue their shared journey. It became a pilgrimage, not only to the farthest reaches of the earth, but to the deepest corners of her own emotional world. The journey to Antarctica was as much for her mother as it was for herself. Armed with pastel sticks instead of her mother's camera, Zaria captured the icy plains, revealing not just their cold, crystalline beauty, but their impermanence, the way they seemed to breathe, melt, and vanish even as she watched. Upon returning to her Brooklyn studio, transformed by the experience, she began creating large-scale pastel drawings so vivid and detailed that viewers could almost hear the ice crack beneath their feet, feel the chill of the frozen air. During her travels, Zaria takes thousands of photographs and makes small sketches on site to immerse herself in the landscape. Back in the studio, she draws from her memory of the place, blending the raw emotion of the experience with her reference images to compose her works. Sometimes she reimagines the sky or alters the shape of the ice, combining different images to match her artistic vision. Zaria begins with a simple pencil sketch to outline major elements, then builds layers of pastel, smudging the pigments with her hands. She breaks the pastel sticks into sharp shards for finer details. Between layers, she applies a light, non-toxic fixative, which dries quickly, allowing her to work on another section or take a break while it sets. Her drawings, while simple in their materials, require hundreds of hours to complete because of their large scale and intricate details. The pastel process is straightforward. Cut the paper, make the marks. But it's also unforgiving. There's little room for reworking, as the paper can hold only a few layers of pigment. Zaria rarely uses an eraser, preferring instead to work through her mistakes, finding joy in the challenge of resolving them with minimal marks. This simplicity in her approach has taught her about the beauty of letting go. For Zaria, drawing is a form of meditation. When she's absorbed in her work, the world fades away. She doesn't see water or ice, Instead, she focuses on the purest elements: color, shape, and light. Her touch is delicate yet intentional, coaxing out each icy detail, each shadow on the face of an iceberg, each ripple on the Arctic Sea. There is a tenderness in her technique, a reverence for the landscapes she portrays, as though she's not just capturing their likeness, but their very soul. Her art is deeply rooted in the emotional bond between humans and the environment. "I want to capture these landscapes while they still exist," she often says. To her, these drawings are more than representations of nature. They are love letters to a vanishing world, a plea for humanity to take notice before it's too late. What makes Zaria's art so emotionally moving is the fragility she captures. Every glacier she draws is not just ice. It's a metaphor for memory, for loss, for the transient nature of life itself. In each carefully rendered line, there's a sense of time slipping away, of a world melting in our hands. Her work is not simply about climate change, though that is one of its most powerful messages. It's about how we, as humans, relate to the world around us. It's about the things we love, and how those things, no matter how vast or seemingly permanent, can vanish in the blink of an eye. Her drawings invite viewers to pause, to reflect, and to feel. Standing before one of Zaria's immense depictions of icebergs floating in an endless sea, you can't help but feel small, as though you're standing at the edge of the world, looking into the void. But instead of dread, there is a strange, quiet beauty in this realization. A recognition of our own impermanence, a humbling reminder of the forces greater than ourselves. Zaria has worked with NASA on key projects to raise awareness about climate change, using her art to visualize the impact on polar ice. In 2016, she flew with NASA's Operation Icebridge over Greenland and Antarctica, creating pastel drawings that captured the intricate beauty of glaciers, sea ice, and icebergs, complementing scientific data with an emotional depth that charts and graphs couldn't provide. In 2020, she joined another Arctic mission to further document the effects of climate change. NASA recognized the power of her work to humanize their data and engage the public. Through these collaborations, Zaria seamlessly bridges the gap between science and public awareness, transforming data into a heartfelt call to protect these fragile landscapes. Despite the cold, stark subjects of Zaria Forman's work, there is an undeniable warmth in her art. Her deep passion for these landscapes, places her mother once captured through a camera, radiates from every piece. This emotional connection infuses her work with a resonance that goes beyond the visual: the ice, the water, the sky. Each rendered with a kind of love that can only come from someone who has spent years in intimate conversation with nature. Her most striking pieces are not just about what is seen, but what is felt. The delicate yet bold pastel marks seem to vibrate with emotion, transforming the drawings into expressions of love and grief, tributes to a world on the brink of being lost. Each piece is a reminder of the fragile wonders of our planet, as fleeting and delicate as the pastel dust she uses to create them. Zaria's art is both a call to action and an elegy. Her drawings are the songs of a landscape slowly vanishing under rising temperatures and shifting tides. Yet within each piece, there is also hope, a belief that through art, we can learn to see the world anew, to cherish its beauty, and protect it before it's too late. Through her hands, Zaria gives voice to the silent icebergs, the retreating glaciers, the disappearing seas. Her work reflects not only the fragility of the environment, but the depth of the human spirit, our capacity to love, mourn, and fight for what is worth saving. In this way, Zaria Forman is more than an artist. She is a guardian of memories, preserving the world's most vulnerable places through her emotionally charged and awe-inspiring creations. So, how do you feel about Zaria Forman's hyper-realistic drawings? Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, hit that like button and subscribe for more art adventures. I'll see you in the next one.